This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome to the Special Chronicles Show. This is episode 520. My name is Daniel Smrokowski, and I'm the founder of Special Chronicles and a Special Olympics Southern Survival International Global Messenger and a ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 730 episodes absolutely for free, and to follow Special Chronicles on social media, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcasts. This week on the Special Chronicles podcast, we continue our ComEd EnergyForce series, season 6, part 4. And in celebration of Earth Day this month of April, we're talking all about clean environmental energy and how ComEd values inclusion in helping to bring renewable energy to all. So please put your virtual hands together. And I forgot to ask how to pronounce her last name, but we'll ask her when we bring her on. But please put your virtual hands together as we welcome Rachel Ketchmark, a business analyst on the Green Power Connection team, GPC at ComEd on the Special Chronicles show. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi. Thanks for having me on your podcast, Daniel. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. And so let's begin. And since I was going to ask you in the pre-show, but we're figuring out all the other pre-show stuff. So let's begin and have you introduce yourself to our listeners, who you are, your job, and you're on the as I learned in our pre-show, you're on the Green Power Connection team at ComEd, which makes you the perfect guest when we talk about Earth Day and going solar and this spring. And so let's begin and have you introduce yourself.
Yeah. So I'm Rachel Ketchmark. I'm on ComEd's Green Power Connection team. I've been with the team almost 4 years now, 3 of those years as a contractor and about a year as the business analyst. So what our team does is we help all manner of customers who are interested in learning more about solar energy, whether that's they are just starting out, learning more about it, and maybe looking for an installer or contractor to maybe begin the first steps of having solar, or maybe they already are in the process of installing solar with a contractor and they're wanting to learn maybe the status of their application. We can give that to them and help them figure out what the next steps are to get that application completed. Or maybe they already have solar and we're there to help them understand the changes to their bills, specifically things like their net metering credits that are going to start appearing on their bills because they're exporting their solar energy to the grid, and ComEd gives credit for that energy that they're exporting.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get into much more about, in particular, this is kind of, we're going to reference kind of two of our previous ComEd EnergyForce episodes in this series from this year, 2023. One, back in February, we did a kind of your guide to going solo episode. And so, folks, if you go to specialchronicles.com, click on podcast and then EnergyForce, you can find that previous episode. And then later on, we're going to reference the ComEd Marketplace episode. But we're going to get into much more about clean environmental energy and some top 3 resources for you. And folks, keep listening because you don't want to miss the end of the episode where we will let you all know about, and probably one of the first times listeners, people will learn about the Earth Day sales, because I don't know if it's been publicly announced yet, but we'll give you the exclusive on some of the Earth Day sales coming up on this episode right here on specialchronicles.com. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue talking with Rachel from the Combat Green Power Connection team right here on SpecialChronicles.com. Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcast, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. And we're back. Our guest is Rachel Ketchmark from the Combat Green Power Connection team. And so, Rachel, in an easy language, a lot of times in our Special Olympics movement, we kind of use the term easy language to kind of, for those of us with disabilities, to kind of understand kind of difficult words. But it could also apply to even any of our listeners who don't have disabilities. So kind of in an easy language for all our listeners to easily understand, can you define what is clean environmental energy?
Yeah, of course. So defining clean environmental energy, I guess in my own words, would be how you can take the resources of the earth that are found throughout, as well as using those resources in a way that will not deplete them or get rid of them from the earth. So, for example, that's using the sun's energy, harnessing that energy to create either solar electric energy, solar air heating to heat our homes, or maybe it's solar water heating to heat the water in our homes and businesses. We could use the wind energy via wind turbines. It pushes a generator and it creates energy for us to use. Or even water. Water is a natural resource on the earth, and things like hydroelectricity or maybe tidal energy. These are just a few of the examples that I could think of, like sun,
Awesome.
wind, and water, naturally found on the earth, and it won't be depleted in our lifetime.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get into, coming up after this next break, we'll get into some of the top 3 resources for clean environmental energy, or I think in the pre-show you had used the term renewable energy, so we'll kind of use those words for our listeners to know that renewable energy and clean environmental energy mean the same thing. And as you said, solar is a kind of I guess one of the top ways that ComEd promotes to when talking about clean environmental or renewable energy. Right. So we'll get into some of the top 3 resources after the break right here on SpecialChronicles.com. Our guest is Rachel Ketchmark, and we will be back after the short break. Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program. The EnergyForce is the country's first energy efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives, and Wary is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they are literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd. Support for Special Chronicles comes from United Airlines Bridge Disability Business Resource Group. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with United Airlines and the Bridge BLG. Bridge BLG is committed to being an ally for all employees and customers with disabilities. Bridge helps to create internal awareness to keep accessibility needs in mind and partner with key organizations to empower disability inclusion for employment and travel. Bridge, connecting people of all abilities. Book your travel today on United.com or on the award-winning United app. Learn more on United's commitment to disability inclusion for employment and travel at specialchronicles.com/United. That's specialchronicles.com/United. And our guest today is Rachel Ketchmark from the Green Power Connection team at ComEd. As your team covers all things solar related, and our listeners know from 2 months ago episode on this podcast. Again, I'll put the link in the show notes because I forgot the exact episode number. Doing over 700 episodes the past 15 years. I can't keep track of the exact episode number, but we'll put a link in the show notes. Again, listeners, you can just go to specialchronicles.com, click on podcast, and then click on EnergyForce. But we did a couple months ago. We did a episode all about your guide to going solar, talking about solar energy, kind of just a basic understanding, and then as one of the best ways that ComEd supports to encourage clean environmental energy. So in that spirit and in celebration of Earth Day this month of April, what are the top 3 resources for clean environmental energy?
Yeah. So I'd first like to mention ComEd.com/solar. It's a great first step to learn more about solar, whether that's installing solar on your home or business, putting it on the roof, or that's subscribing to community solar. So whether you might have too much shading, or maybe you're renting for the roof to really give you a lot of sun access, you might instead go with community solar. On that same page, there is a comparison chart that kind of gives you an idea of which one might be better for you, whether that's installing solar or subscribing to community solar. But you can do both as well, which is pretty cool. On that same page, ComEd.com/solar, on the right side of the page, you can click on the link to our solar calculator. In that solar calculator, you can essentially you enter your address. It'll give you an estimate on how much you probably use throughout the year for electricity. And then based on that yearly usage of electricity, it'll estimate maybe how many solar panels you would need to offset that energy. In that report, it'll give you maybe the costs for installing that solar, as well as the costs after the state incentives, the federal incentives, and ComEd's incentives for installing that solar and that reduced price. Beyond that, there's even a little chart graph that shows you like a return on investment or payback period graph that shows how long it'll take you to essentially hit even or pay off that system. And then from then, you're just raking up all those credits and benefits from the sun. After that, there's also a link to find a contractor. So after you click that find a contractor button, there is going to be a page that gives you some questions you might ask when you're looking and researching for your installer or contractor. And then it'll also give you a second link there that takes you to a list of certified solar installers in Illinois. They're all vetted by the Illinois Commerce Commission, or the ICC. So you know that it's trustworthy. And from there, I'd say if maybe private solar or installing solar on your roof isn't the way to go for you, but you still want to get involved in solar energy, participating in harnessing the benefits of solar, I would suggest community solar. And a really good place to look for that is citizensutilityboard.org/solar in the community. That page is really helpful. It gives you a full explanation of how community solar works. It also explains what your ComEd bill is going to look like, and explains that you're actually going to start to receive a second bill from the community solar provider for the subscription, for subscribing to that project. So you're going to get a lower ComEd bill with the community solar credits, and then a second bill from the provider for the monthly subscription. Then from there, I'd say if maybe you might be in a community of low to moderate area income, then I'd say that a really good link to look at is Illinois Solar for All, and that's at illinoissfa.com. It has both. So if you're interested in installing solar on your home or business, it'll have a list of installers that are certified under Illinois Solar for All to install through this program. And Solar for All is great because it makes the cost of installation much lower as a result of being a part of what they call an environmental justice community, which is usually low income kind of families and communities. If installing solar is still maybe not the best option for you, then they also have community solar links and options and community solar projects and providers that you can vet out using this link. And essentially that brings your subscription costs down instead of the cost of installation down. Beyond that, I guess along the same line of like access to low income communities, I would next like to say ComEd.com/giveaway. ComEd has partnered with some community solar providers and projects in the ComEd service territory, and we essentially give community solar subscriptions for free, and it brings costs for low income customers down by almost 70% in most cases. So they get the credits on their bills for the solar, but they don't have to pay the subscription fee.
Awesome. Well, these resources are awesome. We'll put links to all of these resources that you had mentioned in the show notes on specialchronicles.com/podcast520. Just go to specialchronicles.com and click on podcast and look for episode 520, as well as if you are listening, you can also just go to specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd. And we'll put all, I will add the additional links that you provided, Rachel, on our specialchronicles.com/ComEd page for all of you listening. So anytime that you want, or you want to point your neighbors and friends to this to these resources, you can just head to specialchronicles.com/ComEd, and we will include all those solar and clean environmental energy resources. And so on that, we are going to go and take our final break. When we come back, we'll get to some additional resources plugs. The long-awaited, we teased you at the top of the episode today about the Earth Day sales, but we'll get to those Earth Day sales as well as some final thoughts and the final question about inclusion after this final break right here on specialchronicles.com. Our guest is Rachel Ketchmark from the ComEd Green Power Connection team, and we will be back with those Earth Day sales when we return right here on specialchronicles.com. We'll be back. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. At Special Chronicles, we proudly host our weekly podcast with Podbean and highly recommend you use Podbean Podcast Hosting to get started in podcasting today. Sign up for an unlimited hosting plan and get 1 month free now to get started in podcasting today when you visit specialchronicles.com/Podbean. That's specialchronicles.com/Podbean. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard, the easiest way to create professional live streams. StreamYard is a live streaming studio in your browser. Interview guests, share your screen, and much more. Stream directly to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other platforms. Sign up for StreamYard today using our StreamYard referral link when you visit specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. That's specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. And our guest today is Rachel Ketchmark from the ComEd Green Power Connection team. And as your team covers all things solar related, and as our listeners know from 2 months ago, our podcast about solar energy, which is one of the best ways that ComEd's supposed to encourage clean environmental energy. And in that spirit, in celebration of Earth Day this month, we also kind of want to throw it back to, I think, last month's ComEd EnergyForce episode. I know it's not like Throwback Thursday or Flashback Friday, because this podcast is dropping on Monday. But if you are listening to this, or watching this episode on a Thursday or a Friday, then we can throw it back or flashback it to last month's ComEd Marketplace episode. But in that spirit, and we want to share with all of you a few online resources, including the Earth Day sales on the ComEd Marketplace. Rachel, can you share with us any of these? And remind the listeners, we actually, for the listeners, we'll kind of pull down that fourth wall. Both Rachel and I had to do a quick Google search to find out when Earth Day is. So can you let our listeners know when Earth Day is and the Earth Day sales on the ComEd Marketplace?
Yeah, so Earth Day this year is Saturday, April 22nd. And around Earth Day, we'd like the listeners and our customers to check out ComEd Marketplace later this month around Earth Day for great deals like $1 thermostats and $1 air purifiers. If you love to save, find Earth Day sales on qualifying energy-saving products on ComEdMarketplace.com. Again, that was ComEdMarketplace.com. Then,
and yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I should. I was trying to. There you go.
Learn more about solar energy at ComEd.com/solar. Again, that's ComEd.com/solar.
And for those of you listening, if you are driving or you can't write those down, we'll put links in the show notes on specialchronicles.com/podcast520, or you can just go to our partner page, specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd. We'll put links to the ComEd Marketplace and ComEd.com/solar on specialchronicles.com/ComEd. And we really want to recommend for all of you listening, tell your neighbors, tell your friends about the Earth Day sales that Rachel had mentioned, like the $1 thermostats and $1 air purifiers, because you definitely want to take advantage of that, as well as the ComEdMarketplace.com throughout the year as well for those energy stall or energy efficient products. And with that, I think it's about time to, before we get to that final question, Rachel, any final thoughts on your time here today on the Special Chronicles show that you would like to mention?
Well, I just wanted to say thanks for having me today. It was a lot of fun. And I was pretty nervous, but it seems like this is like a great show, and I'm excited to be a
Yeah.
part of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to make it a nice, easy for our guests to come on, like just like you're sitting down and you're having coffee with friends. That same kind of easy kind of coffee chat type of coffee or tea chat or waddle. Yeah, I've got Waddle in the studio too, so it's all good. To introduce our final question, we're going to go ahead and roll that bumper.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising, peaceful protesters
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
Difference. Our demands are
equality,
dignity,
and the recognition of our
shared humanity. We will not stop
or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
More divided than ever.
and coming together has never been more urgent.
the revolution is inclusion. Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
Now, for the past 5 years, ever since I came back from the 2019 Special Olympics World Games in Abu Dhabi, this final question is really geared mostly to our special needs or disability community and for our Special Olympics movement, but we're going to kind of tweak it a little bit. And Rachel, you kind of in our pre-show kind of gave me a perfect way to kind of tweak it that I think we'll make kind of tweak it to our ComEd EnergyForce audience of this particular series of this podcast. And so, like I've been doing for the past 5 years, I conclude in all these episodes, and I'll do it with you as well, and ask you, what does inclusion mean to you?
Yeah, thanks so much for that question. So, diversity, equity, and inclusion is actually a value or a pillar here at ComEd. So, not only are we encouraged to implement inclusion, diversity, and equity in our work lives and the things that we do in our day-to-day jobs, we're also encouraged to implement that sort of idea in our day-to-day, everyday lives so that we can help those in the communities that we live and serve. So, to kind of piggyback off of that, I'd say that what's great is in the recent several months, both Illinois and at the federal level, they've implemented some laws that have made it much more easy to access the expensive renewable energy that is solar. So, solar to install can be expensive, but with these recent laws, it's made it much more accessible to maybe low income customers, so that we can all take part in this clean environmental energy that is solar, so that it can help bring access to clean air quality to all, especially to the communities that need it most, which tends to be these low income communities. And with bringing clean air, it brings clean air because it is a fuel that is clean, and it can help bring down asthma rates and things like that because of this clean air. It with all of this, it is essentially ComEd is bringing renewable energy to all, and it has the ability because of these laws, especially to those that need it.
Awesome. Well, our guest has been Rachel Ketchmark from the ComEd Green Power Connection team. And thank you, Rachel, for taking the time to come on the podcast and educating our listeners about clean environmental energy and solar and all these resources that I hope all of you listening in or watching this episode, because this audio podcast is also on video, so you guys watch. But thank you, Rachel, for coming on the Special Chronicles show. And as we coming up this month, if I can talk, this month of April 2023 on this podcast, Special Olympics Chief Education Officer Jackie Jodo, we toned on this podcast to talk about inclusive mindsets next week. Also, we go on the road to Berlin with Special Olympics USA athlete Josh Powell from South Carolina, who is a college-educated single and will be competed in Boeing to talk about his journey to the world's largest inclusive sports event, Special Olympics World Games Berlin 2023. And the celebration of Autism Awareness Month, we conclude this month of April going on the job with Chris Lindsay, a photographer, autism awareness advocate, ramp agent for United Airlines in Chicago, plus a big, well-known guest returns on this podcast to premiere in May 2023. So please be sure to keep following the Special Chronicles podcast or tap that follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast as new episodes drop weekly. Remember to follow the Special Chronicles podcast. Don't miss our original content that will help you make impactful and inclusive connections in your life through our podcast. And remember to visit our website, specialchronicles.com. That's specialchronicles.com, where you can stream archives of over 730 episodes absolutely for free. And to follow Special Chronicles on social media, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week, and every Monday next week, right here on specialchronicles.com. And until then, remember, choose to include, and disabled voices matter. And disabled voices matter. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles Podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smrokowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for absolutely for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks as always to our business manager, Daniel Smrokowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smrokowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.